Okay, so chapter 3. Not gonna lie, I've been putting this off all day just because there is so much in this chapter. I mean, just from a length perspective, it's twice, three times as long as any other chapter up to this point. And I mean that it's only a fraction of some of the chapters that'll come later on. That's definitely one thing that is happening in this book what's that? No, that's fine. I'm looking at the document I have for it, and Windows is telling me that I have a grammar thing that is just wrong. Anyhow, but yeah, as Jack has more or less time on his hands and becomes more or less of a better writer as time goes on, he is variable length in his writing. In this one, I really feel like I would have loved to make it much longer than it is, but the fact that he is just the band geek at this point, and he is the one with the pen, he skips over a lot, and that's one part that I really like with this, being able to jump between perspectives as Colette grabs the pen, and spoilers, but Brian will get his chance with it too. It's just fun. It gives everybody a more direct voice, even when Jack is too elementary of a writer to be able to capture that effectively. Even so, this is definitely one place where I questioned the format, because this is the introduction to all of the magic that is to come. It introduces, it's Hagrid on the island in the sea. It's Mr. Tumnus. It's whatever you want. Introduction of Gandalf, whatever. And you want that moment to be as magical as you can, to be memorable. And it was very much a challenge for me to walk that line. Maybe I should have tried a bit harder. There are parts of it I noticed when I was reading through it aloud that I gave Simeon some weather controlling things, just temperature control that I think we can... It's not... Magic in our world, for Simeon in particular, is a very set thing. He has an obscene amount of power at his disposal, but it has very real limits. And while he could certainly accomplish the warm air thing within his limits, it does seem confusing at best for a reader that's trying to figure this sort of thing out. So I think I'll definitely cut that. It doesn't add anything at all for it to be warm. It just makes it a little more alien, and I don't think that I need to stretch too far for that. Speaking of, there is Simeon. I'm trying to think what I can say about him without spoiling all sorts of things. But I mean, he's clearly at least at this point, at least, he's doing the Hagrid thing. He's introducing us to the fact that there is magic, that there is this other world, and giving us a whole lot of exposition while being a part of that world and being very impressive himself. He definitely evolves more into that. He's very businesslike throughout this chapter, and doesn't spend a whole lot of time making friends. And I mean, I guess that's fine. Friendships don't grow out of nowhere. But I guess that's just, I don't know, I wish that I had a more impressive, just boom character, remember this guy, than just, hey, there's an old guy on the side of the road, and it's in the middle of winter, but he's not wearing much. But again, we are doing a whole lot of easing into this. While there is going to be massive displays of his power later on, right now it's fairly understated. I think I was going for kind of a Dalbin sort of situation. For those who don't know the character, he hasn't gotten much of an audience in recent pop culture. Dalbin is from the Prydain Chronicles. Disney did The Black Cauldron back in the 80s and guaranteed that it would never see the light of day again by making a terrible movie. But in the books, which I generally adore, Dalbin is a fount of wisdom for the first 4.5 books, and we are told that he's an enchanter, but he never has any direct hand in the plot. He's the quest giver exclusively, and it isn't until most of the way through the final book that he finally gets up and does some magic of his own, and it is an incredibly powerful scene, because he pulls out all of this magic out of nowhere and just completely destroys an army on his lonesome. But that is not... The problem was that it was entirely ancillary to the plot. There was all sorts of implications that he was this great and powerful thing, but it never really amounted to much. He took out a B villain, and that was pretty much that. Simeon is much more involved in the plot, or at least he will be, and to that effect, it's more necessary that we understand his character and his limits earlier on. I keep getting ahead of myself. We really don't know much about any of this so far. The Undertree House, I rather like. It's simple, straightforward, it's hidden but homey. And then, of course, there's the doors. I think that's Colette probably goes on about the whole King Arthur bit for altogether too long. I mean, it's there for a reason. There are going to be allusions to the same later on, but we probably don't need to go on quite that long. Could have had... Just cutting a couple of sentences there is probably worthwhile. At the same time, though, I don't want to... No, because if it was Jack at this point, I would definitely be cutting a lot out of that, but Colette is definitely better read, more capable of writing, and very much has a strong tendency to geek out when when the proper subject is addressed. So I guess that won't be an issue. Oh, and then there's Lyra. Jeez, I hate this introduction for her. She's such a key character. She joins the group. That much is fairly clear already. She's going to be the semi-peer link to everything that's going to happen from here on out. Because, she knows her world and can do the relations, and she's the one that actually has to go through the whole fish out of water business, which we skip over for the most part. It's been said there have been so many fish out of water stories, I'm just not interested in telling that. But we start off with her here, and she's given the description that is entirely physical, and she hasn't literally said a word yet. I think what I was trying for was to technically introduce her, but not give an impression at all. Keep the focus on Simeon and Martin. And I like Martin's little bit here. He's there. Trouble is that Martin won't become relevant for a very, very long time. Spoilers all over the place here, but I think I should address that. You're listening to the author talk about a book that will have sequels, and there is going to be situations where I spoil things, so I apologize for that in advance. I'm assuming that if you're listening to me, you're coming from a mostly academic viewpoint and just interested in the whole process. And I don't know why you're coming to me for that. I don't know if you're even listening to me for that. I don't know if anybody's listening to me at all. Anyhow, but yeah, spoilers will slip out. Martin will become very relevant to the plot, but not for a very, very long time. But he is odd enough that I feel like Jack's attention would be drawn to him and to Simeon before Lyra, who, for the most part, is a muggle at this point. She is very pretty, but doesn't have a sufficient command of the English language to really stand out at this point. And then there's the business with the Bible. I don't know about that. It feels kind of ham-fisted. It doesn't really become relevant for another 2 books at best. And I'm not going to spend any time at all preaching with the book. And I'm a little afraid that could turn people off. But I could definitely... Maybe I could do the passage in German and have Simeon give a non-direct quotation from it. I don't know, it just seems like I'm trying too hard to make this big and epic and related to big and epic things without leaning on the story's own virtues. Or I might be overthinking it entirely and nobody will care if there's a random allusion to scripture. I don't know. Clearly I'm of a split mind regarding a lot of this. But what else is going on here? Yeah, Martin's introduction is fine. Simple, straightforward. I don't know. We could probably delay that until 2/3 of the way through book 2. No, he's got to be around. No, keep it where he is. There's just nowhere else for him to be. And yeah, it's good. Because, I mean, Simeon is caretaking for Martin at this point, and he would certainly think that Martin could use the social interaction. Because goodness knows you don't see much of it when you live under a tree. Is there anything else that's really going on here? The whole 3 rules thing that the first chapter was dedicated to introducing is already starting to break down, with Jack not knowing if he's breaking rules and introducing. Well, suppose he gives Lyra an introduction, so that's not a thing. But yeah, I guess I've run out of things to talk about, so that'll be that. Till next time.